Back, you're watching Nation at 9. My name is Vineet Malhotra. While Pakistan and China have inked the most expensive project under China's BRI, which is worth $6.8 billion, an internal revolt seems to be brewing in Pakistan against the CPEC. MQM chief Altaf Hussain, in a scathing attack on the Pakistani leadership, has said that they are selling Pakistan to China inch by inch. He added that sensitive and strategic areas in Balochistan, including Gwadar, are being handed over to the Chinese. He added that many Balochs are being displaced from their villages and homes, and nobody, including the Pakistani army, can enter these areas. And according to the MQM chief, Bajwa and company are now launching attacks against the MQM to please China, as the MQM has been a vociferous critic of the CPEC. He said that the MQM has a large support base in urban areas like Karachi, and thus the leadership now wants to decimate the political organization. Hussain also called out Pakistan leadership for crushing the freedom struggles of Balochs, the Pashtuns, the Mujahirs, and the Sindhis. Well, we'll talk about this with our panelists. Is Pakistan selling itself to the devil? Well, it seems that it's too late already. They have struck a deal with China, and sooner than later, Pakistan, perhaps in its entirety, will belong to China. But how long will it take? What will be the repercussions in Pakistan? Let us not forget they are a nuclear country. They are, in fact, hordes of terrorist organizations which, in fact, work out of Pakistan. How is China going to take care of that? Let's talk about that with our panelists. Joining me on this broadcast is Professor Madhav Nalapat, Editorial Director of the Sunday Guardian, Ambassador Deepak Vohra, former Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs, former diplomat, Sumit, Kashmir political commentator and analyst, also joins us. And last but no means the least, Major General Shashi Asthana, former additional DG Infantry and Global Strategic Affairs expert and analyst. Professor Nalapat, it's an open secret that Pakistan has sold its soul to the devil. And China, with the kind of help it's been providing Pakistan, with the kind of assistance and even the kind of backing it has received, especially on matters such as Kashmir, only goes on to show that Pakistan has really been eating out of China's hands.
Well, I'd like to say, Vineet, that Pakistan has always been a hired gun. It was a hired gun for the United States for several decades. And then when the United States started realizing that the gun has started to shoot in its direction, and with terrorism, 9/11, etc., when the Europeans started realizing that the Pakistan network is as deadly to Europe as it is to India, well, then there was a change. And now Pakistan has got only China to give it large amounts of money. I mean, let's be honest. The Pakistan elite love money, and they love their houses in Miami. They love their vacations in Scotland. They love all that. And now you have got Santa Claus in the form of China handing out this money like anything. Look, this particular project, it is clearly a military project. There is absolutely no way it's going to make any profit at all. There's no way that any of the traffic that has been estimated to roll on these tracks is ever going to roll, that is going to be commercial traffic or indeed passenger traffic. The only use is military. And what does that mean? It means the quick transportation of troops. And what does that mean? It means a quick transportation of troops within Pakistan to crush what is happening in Balochistan, in Sindh, in Pashtunistan, in other parts of that country, so that the army will keep its jackbooted control over the people of Pakistan.
General Asthana, in fact, the MQM leader has gone on to say that the Chinization of Pakistan, or handing over of Pakistan to China, is not going to end well for Imran Khan and company. Well, it's already, showing in the way the army is treating Imran Khan as well. They're listening more to China and less to Imran Khan.
Absolutely. In fact, this project is a roadmap of Pakistani exploitation. Frankly speaking, today, the biggest threat which Pakistan faces is from Chinese economic aggression. The CPEC is a crafted project to utilize the overcapacities of China and get an alternate route to warm water access. But logisticians have calculated that the commercial traffic is about 10 times more costlier to roll on CPEC than to go via Malacca Strait through sea. And therefore, the utilization is not as it was made out to be in the initial stages. This project is a total exploitation in a manner that you would have heard. Saudis told them, pay us 1 billion. Chinese said, okay, here is 1 billion, you pay them. But you signed this project. Now, what does this project mean? The terms of contract have yet to be decided. They have not been signed. Their total development budget for the year is 7.9 billion, out of which 6.8 billion contract has been backed by China. So therefore, out of the poverty, there is actually every single pie is being extracted by China. Bulk of the money which Chinese have given is for energy project, which will also go back to China. A 60 billion project, when Pakistan starts paying, they will be paying much more than 80 billions plus to China. This is the economics of this basic project. Similarly, there are a whole lot of, I would say, compromises attached with this project. Whether it is in terms of Baluch development, it is in terms of the sovereignty of the country, in terms of exploitation of the mineral resources, exploitation of all kinds of resources. And as Professor brought out, it's more, it makes a military sense, certainly, and it also makes economic sense for only China, not Pakistan, for using the overcapacities in some manner, because Africans have told them, no, go back, we don't need it. And a large number of other countries, their overcapacities are not being utilized for some reason or the other. All their projects have got stuck. Now, they found a country called as Pakistan, which is facing tremendous amount of insecurities and self-inflicted insecurities because of their Kashmir bias. And therefore, this is one country which can be exploited, and that is being exploited to the fullest. So this is an irony of Pakistan. Certain people have started realizing it, like MQM, and started raising voices. There are certain segment of intelligentsia is also raising voices, but the military stand sold out to China, and so does the Pakistani hierarchy, and that's why this project is going on the way it is going.
Absolutely, Ambassador Vora. In fact, thousands of acres of agricultural land will be acquired and leased by China, for the CPEC project. In fact, the agreement between Pakistan and China is so deep that the dissemination of Chinese culture will be penetrating every aspect of the Pakistani household. Now, Pakistan is riddled with extreme conservative, social elements as well. How will they react to this?
Thank you very much, Mr. Malhotra, for this opportunity to learn from you and the brilliant minds on your panel. Your show is also watched in Pakistan, so with reference to what you've just said about the penetration of their culture, then may I greet all our friends in Pakistan, Ni hao ma, ni judab, ujudab, in Chinese, because they may not speak Urdu anymore, at least not for a very long time. May I just say that Pakistan's foreign minister, as you know, rushed to China just a few days ago, and he said he is going there for something very important. My own assessment is the Chinese summoned him, as your panelists have very rightly said. And what they've told him that we've been shielding you all these years against charges of abetting terrorism. Now, buddy, we can't do it anymore unless there is a payback. Because what is happening, sir, and I'm sure the other panelists will have their opinions on this, till about last year, public enemy number one across the world was Islamic terrorism. Now it's China. And China doesn't want that distinction of being hated intensely by every country in the world. Therefore, they've told these guys, you go slow on this, do something about this. So that list has been published of 88 characters and organizations that we are going to punish, etc., which is all rubbish. But the reality over here is that in return for continuing to protect their illegitimate, sorry to use the expression, child Pakistan, from being kicked around by the world, they have extracted their pound of flesh. Why does China need this? It's very, very simple. China is sitting on huge reserves of foreign exchange. Their own infrastructure within the country is reaching saturation point. So you need to give employment to your people. You need to keep your factories working. And this is one country that is willing to do that. I think this is, and I call this what is happening in Pakistan with the railways in particular. I refer to this as the massive construction boost trap. When the construction is going on, everybody is singing, laughing all the way to the bank because you have employment, you have money. Once the construction is over, and I've seen this across Africa, unemployment then booms and instability results. I don't understand why the Pakistanis are unable to comprehend this very basic truth. While the work is going on, everybody is happy. When the work stops, that's when we see, that's what distinguishes the men from the boys. So China's Pakistan exploitation corridor, China-Pakistan economic corridor, that is going to now be probably the grave of an independent and once proud people, the Pakistanis. I believe they have lost the plot, they have lost the game. It's a country forged on religion. People are losing faith, sir. Pakistanis are desperate for change. The CPC is not going to give it to them. So they have been told by the government, let's chase the chimera of the CPEC. It's not going to happen. I mean, chronic electricity shortages, collapsing health and education system, universal corruption, sense of drift and hopelessness. What is the CPEC giving you? Electricity production, highways, steel plants or whatever? Where are the hospitals and the education systems across the country? That is the building block of a nation's prosperity. Where is that? No one seems to think about that. Therefore, exactly as General Asthana said and Mr. Professor Nanabad have said, this is a trap into which they have fallen and falling willingly because they have no alternative.
Sumit, in fact, Pakistan does not realize that this is also an attempt or a long-term goal of China, to make the people living in the Western provinces, especially in Xinjiang, go and sell products into Pakistan. And Pakistan doesn't realize that that is definitely going to harm the local business.
Vineet, good evening. After the eminent Prime Minister has spoken, a couple of points here. It's very important when we look at this, what General Saab rightly said and as and Professor Saab. 8 billion is their infrastructure budget, and this is the biggest project which Chinese have walked away with. Now, we have been always talking about, let me take 30 seconds to give a comparison between Indian and Pakistan Railways. We're talking about 2,600 kilometers of Pakistan Railways. Our railways is 120,000 kilometers. Biggest employer in the world, consumes 2% of the total power produced, and is the richest company to capitalize its land banks, and has a budget of $35 billion. Now, the news here is, Vineet, that Pakistan has pledged its railways to Chinese today. This is the future news which is going to come out in some part of history, that today is the time when Pakistan pledges railways. Now, what is instantly very surprising, Vineet, we know that, we know what Chinese are doing, we know their political aggression, we know their ethnic aggression. Today, it's a very good deal, Vineet, for Chinese. You see, this CPC, Major Saab rightly calls it, it's an exploitation corridor. For $60 billion, you're getting 3 L's. 3 L mil rahe aapko. Land, lady, and legitimacy. Now, lady means the girls which they are marrying at, thousands by the months. So, land anyway they will get because Pakistan will be never ever able to bend back. And legitimacy is, they have got the country, they have got the market, they have got free access to the country, and they have got the access to the ports they need. So for $60 billion, this is a steal. The world should write this in the history books. How you sold a country for $60 billion, that too in parts. And with it, they got your land, ladies, and legitimacies. That is what Pakistan is about. So it is much beyond that Pakistani exploitation. This is not an economic corridor. This is a sold out of Pakistan. And the way Chinese are re-engineering their DNA, Vineet, I hate to say that we will only talk about 10 years down the line of Pakistanos. Pakistani ethnicity. This is all gone down the drain, and Pakistan has no option. Because if you take this Kashmir obsession, if you take jihad as your way of life, if your army is a Punjabi Sunni militia, these are the things which are going to come your way because you have to be economically relevant in the world affairs. What are you good at? International terrorism. How long can you thrive on that? This Islamism, this jihad, this anti-India hatred, this anti-Hindu hatred is what you have landed your country into today. You are pledging your land, your ladies, and your everything inch by inch. That is the story of Pakistan. आप टुकड़ों में पाकिस्तान को बेच रहे हो विनीत जी $60 बिलियन के लिए So this will be a classical case study in the CCP. How could you win a country in just $60 billion, that too spread for 10 years? Allah, sad.
Professor Nalapat, an MOU for a link, an optic fiber link, has also been signed in 2013 between Pakistan and China, and that obviously is a cause of worry for India's security as well.
Well, Vineet, the only objective, frankly, of pouring this money into Pakistan is to ensure that India does not develop its potential. Because the people in Beijing are very smart people. They are fully aware that if there is an economy that can take a lot of the slack that is leaving from China, it is India. Now, we have talked about the culture, for example, Chinese culture coming into Pakistan. Well, I would only like to say that I think it will create a cultural revolution. For one thing, the Chinese love what Muhammad Ali Jinnah used to take almost every morning for breakfast, which is a good breakfast of ham. He loved this ham and he used to take it virtually every morning. The Chinese love ham. The Chinese are not teetotalers. I mean, they're civilized people. They don't believe in being teetotalers. And personally, a large part of the civilized world, I don't think you'll find them as teetotalers. And thirdly, unlike the Americans, who create mini Americas and live in bubbles where they don't interact with local population, Chinese interact. And, Chinese ladies are, at least after 1949, they are not the bound foot ladies of the past. They are modern, many of them. They dress in a modern way. Very frankly, you can't make out the difference of the dress in New York or in Beijing or in Shanghai. So I would only like to say, this kind of a population, this kind of a diet, this kind of a lifestyle moving among the Pakistan people will create a cultural revolution. And in my view, I would welcome this kind of a cultural revolution happening in Pakistan.
Well, General Asthana, cultural revolution happening in Pakistan. But do we want another China so close to us?
In fact, cultural revolution doesn't, shall we say, affect Pakistan or India to that extent, because if Chinese are our next door neighbors, the other side, even if this kind of cultural connect comes this side, it will be certainly better than jihadi outcome and the jihadi bias. But more than that is that the Chinese entanglement in Pakistan is going to leave them in a slightly different kind of world. What I visualize is that this cultural revolution is being challenged by the jihadis and by the terrorist groups also. And apparently, this is going to lead to a more unstable Pakistan. Now, if the instability in Pakistan grows, the terrorism also grows.
Correct.
And therefore, there is an element of concern in a manner that unstable Pakistan actually doesn't suit our security interest. Because you have all the jihadis as of now concentrating on Kashmir. Now we don't want that to be concentrated all over the borders, right from one corner to the other corner, because we have a fairly long border with Pakistan. So this was one reason, if I recall, the US ambassador once when were questioned by us in a seminar, we asked him as to why do you give such weapons to Pakistan which can only be used against India. His answer was that an unstable Pakistan doesn't suit American interest, doesn't suit Indian interest. And therefore, if they are doing something for us in Afghanistan, then they have to be suitably balanced because their insecurities have to be taken care of, quote unquote. So insecurities taken care of means that threat from India should be reduced. And therefore, they were thinking that perhaps an unstable Pakistan doesn't suit anybody. Now, this was one argument. I mean, we need not discuss that argument because that is out of context. But certainly, unstable Pakistan is a little more problem for us. It will be a problem child for us. We have no intention of taking over Pakistan. India is not a threat to Pakistan. China is a threat to Pakistan. This Pakistanis must realize. If they don't realize this, that they are being made a colony, tomorrow they will be servants. And the Pakistanis also joined us in fighting against the British for the freedom. And the freedom struggle, the entire India was together. Now, a lot of people have made a lot of sacrifices for that freedom. They want to go back in history to that situation because now, subsequently, they will be fighting Chinese for that freedom. Because once having lost that freedom, they won't understand what it means. So this is a very, very major concern. And I think better the Pakistanis realize it, better it is for them, for everybody in the world, and even for us.
Absolutely. And Ambassador Vora, obviously, this is something that Pakistan has to realize it on its own. But with the kind of activities Pakistan has been involved in the past 70 years, do you think it serves them right, like they say in colloquial English?
Pakistan is not going to change its behavior, Mr. Malhotra. Even though the FATF is threatening them that you're going to be blacklisted and all that, they are just so far wedded to jihad that they are not going to change. Remember, it was a country based on religion, created on the basis of religion. As far as CPEC is concerned, what Mr. Peer has said and what General Asthana have said, the early harvest of these 88 projects, which started in 2015, has been reaped. Interest is drying up and so are the jobs. So this railway business is meant to rekindle popular public interest in the China-Pakistan economic corridor. I was not aware till I did some research that in percentage terms, Pakistan has the highest youth bulge in history. According to the UNDP, over 95% of Pakistanis are between the ages of 15 and 30. Over 95%, with 2 million semi-literate aspirants trained in madrasas entering the workforce every year. Where are we headed? To pure, simple calamity. And China, of course, has been cozying up to the terrorists in Pakistan, telling them, guys, look, we'll give you money, we'll do whatever, we'll block you from being sanctioned by the UN. You just lay off Xinjiang, don't come in there. And even though we are going to annihilate 1 million Uyghurs who are your co-religionists, look the other way, look towards Kashmir, don't bother us about what we are doing. This is the reality, and Pakistan has become a party to it because they have driven themselves into a position, sir, where they have no choice. They have no alternative. I mean, Imran Khan, can you imagine when he says that China is our friend through thick and thin, in happiness and sorrow, and we need China, but China also needs us. I mean, what kind of plaintive cry is that? China doesn't need you, China is gobbling you up. I think they like Pakistani, I hate to say flesh, but Pakistani food, and they are going to enjoy that very much.
All right, just a minute left, and Sumit, last few thoughts from you, and then we wrap up.
I think we need a couple of points here. First of all, on 5th August, Pakistani Prime Minister went to POK, and the POK Prime Minister told him, please get out of here. We are kind of messed up being a part of you. Give us this separate state and give us this self-discrimination. The ongoing CM said that you have insulted Muslims of Gilgit-Baltistan. So the fact remains with this, I have to compliment Professor Nalbur for brilliantly what he said. I mean, namaskar karta hu sir aapko. I mean, I could not imagine anybody articulating it better than that. Now the part of this new Chinese revolution is going to be, we need now these re-engineering camps, what you call the re-education camps. Now the Chinese are going to start a university in Pakistan, right? Because the camp will not do. They have to re-educate these millions, and the new re-education university will be held. And madrasa chap PhDs will be their agents who will get people and get them to this re-education camp and pull them to Chinese. That is what the Pakistan is going to end up as. It is going to end up as an enslaved state of China. I hate to repeat what Japanese did to Chinese in the World War, but I think Chinese are trying to repeat that with Pakistanis. But this time around, Pakistanis, remember one thing: there is no Mahatma Gandhi to liberate you because your DNA would have been changed. और एक बार DNA बदल गया तो भाई कुछ नहीं हो सकता फिर आपका ऊपर वाला ही मालिक है, मैं क्या बोलूं?
ham खाओगे तो ham handed हो जाओगे.
And incidentally, pig is auspicious for Chinese. Pig oil is used in everything when it comes to Chinese culture.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.